was surreal, to be honest.
For us, winning a content marketing award is validation. It's really putting us up against everybody. Now we get to get compared to others by our peers.
Content experts, judging the best content programs is so much more special than just, a general marketing award.
You don't see this sort of recognition for this type of work in other awards, I feel.
For some of our other clients, they get to have a little window into what other types of work we're doing, where are we taking risks that they might want to get on, and how is that paying off.
It's just so great to see the different things that people are doing out there in different aspects of content marketing, right?
It's inspiration for what we're going to do next.
Hello, everyone. This is Amanda with the Content Marketing Institute. I'm so happy that you're joining us this afternoon for the latest episode of Live with CMI. I'm joined by my colleague, JK here, who was suspiciously absent from the last episode. How was your work trip to London, JK?
It was fantastic. My work trip. No, it was lovely. I went over, as you know, I went over and visited our Informa offices in London and had a wonderful time meeting our team members over there, did some creative marketing meetings and had a blast. And of course, I had to take in the city. I was there for a very compressed period of time, but me and some...
You managed to find the pubs, right? You were able to...
one or two, and made some new best friends in them, apparently.
Well, we're so glad that you're back, JK, because I'm especially excited about today's episode. We're talking about our brand new career and salary research that we just released, right, JK?
That's right. Our very own Robert Rose will be joining us in a moment to go all of the eye-opening findings, as well as some advice on navigating the AI disruption and challenging job market out there for marketers. It's going to be really compelling today. I'm really excited about it.
Yes, Andy's joining us. Yes, Andy, he was in London. He was in London last time. He missed out on the episode and left me here by myself, but it was fine. It was okay.
You did fantastic.
Well, before we get to Robert here in a moment, we want you to know, as always, this live stream is brought to you by the Content Marketing Institute. We are the leading training and education organization for all things content and marketing. So you can head over to contentmarketinginstitute.com for all kinds of great resources like our research we're talking about today. And as you join us today, please give us a virtual wave. Let us know where you're joining us from. Say hello. It really makes for a more engaging live stream when we hear from all of you. So as we go along today, feel free to drop your comments or questions in the comment box, and I will try to get to them as best as I can. We love to hear from you. So back to our topic today. Let me pull it up here. All right. So from a ghost workforce to career hedging to a battle over what few marketing jobs are out there, there's a lot to unpack in our brand new research that we just released last week, the 2026 Career and Salary Outlook for Content and Marketing Professionals. The report explores the gap between expectations and reality for marketers amid layoffs and AI disruption, right, JK?
That's right. And here today to help us unpack the research is CMI's Chief Strategy Advisor, our very own Robert Rose. Hello, my friend. How are you?
What's going on, you two?
Living
the dream. Here, JK's been traveling around the world, but
that's what I just heard. He gets to go to London while the rest of us have to sit here in our own screwed up country. But I'm not getting into politics now. But all right, I'm not going there.
All right, Robert. So first of all,
All right, Robert.
let's talk about
Settle
the
down.
overall vibe out there when it comes to marketing job market. AI promised to give marketers superpowers. So we should be able to do more with less. But what's interesting is we found like 50 some percent have taken on new responsibilities without advancement or added pay. 76 say they're doing the work of more than one job. 11% have actually replaced workers with AI. What does this appear to show us about how AI is really impacting our marketing teams out there?
Yeah, this was the number one result that sort of made me stop and go, okay, this is it's validating, one, because it sort of matches how I've been feeling. I think how a lot of us have been feeling with regard to AI, but it's also just really a stark reminder of how much hype the technology has, which is, so if you look at those two numbers, right, the 76% who are doing more than one job, and then the 11% who are actually, of companies that are actually replacing tasks or people with AI. Well, the implication of that is pretty simple, which is what's happening is layoffs are happening. We know that. We can see that. We can observe that. We don't need research to tell us that. But we can also see that businesses are not replacing people with AI or using AI to replace those people. What they're doing is they're just backfilling those tasks into everybody else. And the fascinating thing is that, there's this old saying that, shit runs downhill, right? Which is basically, you've got people and who are, bosses, and you have tasks and you have jobs. And if you're early or young or basically inexperienced in your job, you get all the unpleasant tasks that nobody wanted. Well, congratulations. Now businesses with AI have made shit run uphill, basically, because it's the managers, it's the directors, it's the VPs who are actually now being assigned more tasks to backfill roles that don't exist anymore. And AI is basically also on the plate. You also have to implement AI and make sure that you're doing more with less, so that there's a nice narrative for the business to go out with the press release to say, hey, we cut heads by 15% and AI is doing all this wonderful work, but it's not getting the credit or the blame. It's basically just people doing more stuff.
Oh, so let me ask you. So do you think that, like, in essence, they're just using AI as an excuse? Like, some of these companies just saying AI is an excuse, and we got rid of so many people and we're filling these roles with AI, but they're really not filling these roles. They're just putting the work on other people.
Yeah, it's just, that's the narrative, right? That's the narrative right now. It's in the popular zeitgeist of where firms, mostly larger companies, let's be honest, mostly larger companies are using this as an excuse, right? They're using this as the narrative to say,
Yes.
hey, and they may be, earnestly, they may be pressured, right, by the street, by their board, by their investment, partners, to say, you've got to have an AI narrative, right? You have to have a story in AI right now in order to remain viable in the stock market or whatever it is for the investment. And the key narrative seems to be, how can we do more with less people? And how can we use AI? Now, the interesting thing there is that what the data also point to is the fact that there's an expectation gap that's starting to form. In other words, what we're finding is that AI actually is producing good results. The Tiger teams are working, the experiments are working. Practitioners in the business are actually finding very useful cases for AI to do their work better, more creatively, deeper, thinking partners, all those kinds of things. And so they're going back to their bosses and saying, hey, we have all these wonderful use cases for AI, but it requires more people, more technology, and more investment. And the business is going, no, wait a minute. We told you to go find the less people story, and you're finding more people story. And it's like, that expectation isn't washing right now.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And we're calling it the ghost workforce, right? This idea that they aren't really there.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it feeds into this, it's people doing more tasks, doing more, and which feeds into this challenge of hiring, because now the expectation is that you have to hire people who can do all those jobs, who can fill all of those roles and backfill. So you're looking for, if you were looking for unicorn marketers, before the sort of classic T-shaped, well, now you need, the T plus T plus T shaped, because they have to be deep in all of these areas that are being backfilled.
Yeah.
Let's say hello here to Elizabeth, Andy, and Grace, who are joining us tonight, and Andy, or this afternoon tonight. Andy says, it seems like there's a huge gap between management, who makes resource allocations, and employees about AI and how it should be used.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. It's and this is not any different than most new technologies or innovations that come along in business, right? Where we don't know what we're doing with most of them. It came along when we got into email marketing, when we got into social media, when we got into web content management, when we got into marketing and CRM, when we got into Salesforce automation, analytics. The new technology brings with it a disruption in the way that business was done before, and we're all not good at it yet. And as we get good at it, the expectation is, and this is especially true in marketing, is that somehow it's always going to make us more and more efficient, because efficiency is sort of the overriding value of marketing ultimately, because most businesses continue to look at marketing as a tax, right? So the more efficiently I can do it, the better I'm doing it. And ultimately what we're finding is that AI is just like those other technologies, that as we get into it, effectiveness, slowing down, being more creative, and actually investing more into better content, better marketing, more effective marketing is the true value. But that expectation hasn't washed up to the management level yet, because they're still being pressured for that efficiency story that just doesn't seem to be appearing very much.
Well, sorry, I was interrupting. Natalie says, like any project, first you need more people. AI is just the technology. And Elizabeth says, it's resonant, especially as AI is showing how many content gaps there are and how much more powerful, strong content can be. It's a good point. Go ahead, JK.
Yeah, well, Robert, you'd think with all this turbulence would be marketers are panicking about like losing their jobs. But like in the research, it found only 4% of those surveyed expect that AI will fully replace them. And like half, I think around 53%, believe AI will augment their existing role. However, you dig into the data, that's not exactly true across the board, right?
Yeah, it's true. And it gets to the point that I was making around the idea of, that the practitioners are actually doing useful things, but they're just not there's a gap there in between expectation setting and what's actually valuable versus what the perception of value is. But I think what we can see in the data is that marketers generally, so there's this myth of job hugging right now, which is this, that basically marketers are scared, thus they're basically out there trying to, figure out, okay, I'm going to stay in my job because, I'd have to, and I have to. And there probably is some element of that. But actually what the data starts to tell us is that the job hugging thing is more a myth than anything else. But the challenge is that it's the lower rung, that sort of entry level position, that's getting cut off. So we're basically chopping off the lower rung of the ladder, saddling those that with more tasks. And thus I can't really matriculate or move to a higher paying job or those kinds of things right now, because I basically, I'm pretty satisfied, but, and the most important thing is that they're still looking. Right. In other words, they're still throwing resumes over the wall at Indeed. Right. I can't remember the percentage off the top of my head, but it's a very high percentage of marketers in our study that even though they're satisfied at work, they're still actively looking. They're still looking either for that next opportunity or for any other opportunity that comes along. So the new job entrants are basically competing with the existing job havers, who are basically saying, yeah, I can click the button on Indeed. I can click the button on LinkedIn. I can throw my resume over the wall. And if something better comes along, that's fantastic, because I'm no longer invested in this company because the company's not really investing in me.
Yeah, let's dig into that. That was another big data point, was the disparity there between entry-level marketers and more experienced, we are calling them Gen X marketers, the job market battle here. So the research shows hiring is down among those new marketers, yet hiring is up overall among teams. So,
That's right.
talk a little bit more about what this suggest to you?
So we can see the expectations of the business. Like we can see that the expectation of the business is, oh my gosh, they're starting to realize that people matter. And that we need people that can fill in all of those tasks that we're backfilling now, because we believe, probably falsely, but in some cases, there's no doubt that it actually can, agentic AI and those kinds of things can take on some of those lower level tasks. But the thing is, I mean, when I go off on a rant about this, it's like in the history of marketing, and I've been doing this 35 years, we never hired kids out of college or the entry level marketer because of what they could do today. What we were doing is we were investing in kids that we knew would be amazing tomorrow. In other words, we were investing in them to become the leaders in our marketing organization, 3 years from now. And so we were investing in smart people who could become institutional value to our business over time. We were never hiring them because they could push the same buttons that a computer could. But now, if we chop that off, 3 years from now, who are we left with, right? There is no more pipeline of those people. And so what's happening is that businesses are saying, we need more people, we need more institutional value, but we need those people who can fill all those tasks that we now have basically chopped off the bottom of the ladder to. So it becomes more experienced marketers who are basically doing all of the, hashtag all the things, where the businesses are actually adding people. Typically, that's going to default into, those that are either A, already have jobs, or B, basically are, or have those multiple tasks. That's why I think we see this sort of, weird numbers of where it's really hard for new people and really hard to get a new job. It takes 5 months now instead of 3 months to get a job, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of that is because it's existing people that are just job hopping from place to place rather than new people coming in and building up the numbers of our marketing teams.
That's interesting. And you talked about something that I want to bring up a little earlier, but we also found that many marketers are doing something called career hedging.
Yeah.
What is that exactly? And what do you make of it?
Yeah. So what we're finding now is that there's a lot of marketers who are doing kind of their own thing, right? Mm-hmm. Freelancing. And sort of in hustling around and taking on freelance work or fractional work in some cases with their existing jobs. This gets to the idea of the marketers that are basically throwing their resumes over the wall. Well, they're also basically really doing just some side work. Now, here's the thing. Their data show that the numbers, the amount of money getting generated is basically not that high. What you have really are marketers and content practitioners who are basically doing two things. One is finding the tasks that they really want to do, content strategy, creation of content, strategy, those kinds of things, where they can apply those skills where they may not being applied now because they're busy backfilling all of the sort of task-oriented things that the younger people were basically doing before. But two, what they're doing is that they're keeping their network warm, right? They're keeping that network warm. In other words, they're going out and doing that project for the nonprofit that they love. They're going out and doing that small project for another company. They're going out and working a side job with marketing because they're keeping their tasks and their skills sharp. Mm-hmm. And they're basically hedging their careers against, hey, if I get fired, I'm going to actually have another part of my portfolio that I can show off to another employer. So basically, it's this idea of I'm going to keep my skills. You're using me in a very particular way, but I'm going to keep my skills sharp and my network warm in case I need it. So it's this idea of career hedging, which is degrading the ability for the business to create institutional value with their marketers because they're just not that dedicated to it.
Sorry, I got the wrong one there. Andy says, this is Elizabeth. I'm curious about how many people are job hopping and how many are caught up in the multiple layoffs. She says she needs to escape the revolving door of big tech right now.
Right. Yeah. No, it's big tech is really where we're seeing this, right? Where we're seeing this sort of the sort of floating back and forth, the sort of revolving door, if you will, of bodies back and forth but hiring counts staying exactly the same, right? So every marketer I'm speaking to in tech, financial services, it's like, yeah, headcount, we can't add any headcount, but they can, if somebody leaves, they can replace that person with somebody, of equal or more value. And what's happening is that sort of there's a marketplace developing, if you will, of finding that place where you can sort of bounce back and forth and sort of bounce up the ladder, if you will. And so it's interesting because we're not building that, we're turning basically marketing teams into these cogs that we just basically place into the machine and aren't building any long-term institutional value. As long as they can push the same buttons, as long as they can basically do the same thing, that's fine. But the real flip of that is that on the other side, the marketers that are joining those companies don't really have any passion or interest in the actual topic or the content of the company itself, because they know they're only going to be there for like 18 months. Company's not going to invest in their soft skills, of learning the business, learning the competitors, learning the personas. They're just there to configure technology and work with technology and be a performance marketer until they get, until they find the next thing. And so there's really a real, I think, a call to action now for businesses and for marketers to really get out of that cycle, because businesses that invest in young people and invest in training and soft skills and strategy, those are going to be the businesses 3 years from now that are actually doing interesting thing and have a valuable team that's worth investing in, rather than sort of just the commoditization of marketing.
Yeah. So, going along with that, was, kind of the other question was, what's your advice for not just those orgs, who are making these changes and the marketing leaders, but for marketing practitioners considering this, I guess, volatile market out there? What's your best advice for them?
For businesses, it's basically stop cutting off that lower rung, right? Start really looking at the use cases that your teams are putting forward and figuring out how, because here's the thing. If you have the belief that you can do more or the same with less people using AI, you actually have to, it's a corollary, you have to believe the corollary, which is you could do better, more, or deeper work with the more or the same number of people, because you have to believe both of those things. So think about why you might choose the latter rather than the former. Basically, how do we invest in the teams that we have so that they become more institutional and more valuable over time, so that we're investing in them in a way that makes them want to stay, right? Where they're not out there trying to career hedge their bets. On the practitioner side, first of all, for new marketers, for those that are coming out of college, for those that are brand new to the business, first of all, I see you. I 100% see you. It's probably never been a more difficult time to get an entry-level job in marketing. The only advice I can give you is show proof of work. In other words, take the internship, take the job with the small company, take the gig with the freelancer, so that you start to build a portfolio and build and warm up your network, because proof of life, proof of work is going to be the differentiator between you and that other entry-level marketer. So it's not just your resume and how good your LinkedIn profile is, it's how good your portfolio and proof of work is.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I've been telling young marketers out of college who are at least 9 months out. More than 9 months out from graduating. And I'm like, go to do that nonprofit work or whatever it is to get whatever experience that you can.
I couldn't agree more, Amanda, because it's so interesting that you brought that up, because I just read a very interesting Reddit post about a gentleman that was in tech that lost his job, and he said, I'm spending 11 hours a day on Indeed and firing off emails and stuff. And he goes, it's just become incredibly frustrating, until someone said, well, what are you doing to better yourself instead of just sitting there all day? So he said, instead of 11 hours, I cut it down to 2 hours a day to apply for jobs. Then that other time, I spent time volunteering at a soup kitchen, a food pantry. He goes, I volunteered. My brother-in-law's company had horrible spreadsheets in Excel. So I went in and sat down and redid all his Excel sheets. I took some local classes, and it turns out that I networked so much. He goes, I had 3 job offers within a month and a half.
That's it. That's the formula right there. Yeah. I mean, it's not easy. I don't mean to make it sound easy, but that's exactly it. It's like, getting out, developing relationships is the differentiator these days. Playing the video game of Indeed submission and whack-a-mole is never going to give you what you want.
Well, and you're exactly right. And how many of these? I mean, we've learned this too. How many of these job postings aren't even real, or are they?
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, yes,
you know.
all of that is replete, and we found that in the data too. The ghosting is real. The actual automated job. Sort of there's a battle going on right now with applicants having 17 different versions of their resume, all written by AI, that are meant to sort of game the system with the AI generated, systems that are analyzing resumes. So you have this sort of, battle going on of a million resumes versus or it's a million moving objects versus a million unstoppable walls or something like that, basically, and so it's really tough now.
We had so many other great points in the research, which I actually forgot to have you talk at the beginning, Robert. Was there anything else in particular that stood out from the research? I know you mentioned it's taking longer now the job search is up from when we, reported this 2 years ago, but anything else you wanted to add about the research before we go?
I think it's, sort of going back sort of as an undercurrent of all of this, and what you're showing on the screen now is really important, which is those that are in high disruption organizations versus those that are in low disruption organizations. And you can start to see where AI is really having an impact. And you basically say, for example, you've got high disruption organizations, almost half are reporting team staff reductions, but where there's low disruptions, in other words, where they're taking their considered time and they're basically, they're walking through this, right? You see 30%, right? So in other words, it's something I've been telling my clients anyway, which is this whole race with AI that seems to be going on right now, this sort of focus on speed, and sort of, frictionless, somebody should write a book about that. But anyway, that's a whole different topic. Is this focus on speed seems to be this belief that there's some first mover advantage to getting AI right in your company right away, getting it going, getting this narrative of AI and working in marketing. And there's just not. There's just not. The companies that we're seeing take a slow, considered pace at it to figure out where the gaps are in workflow, to figure out where the gaps are in skill sets, develop the soft skills of their people, invest in the time that make AI truly impactful, but are taking their own sweet time and doing it, are actually getting a lot more traction than those that are just throwing spaghetti AI against the wall and seeing what happens.
Like you said, how many times have we seen this kind of disruption before? Nobody learned their lesson.
Right. Right.
Well, we have so many other great information in the report, which you can head over to contentmarketinginstitute.com and check it out. We'll drop the link directly to the report as well. We'd love to hear your thoughts on what's happening out there, what you're seeing out there. So as always, feel free to let us know. That's how we know what's going on, because people share with us as well. So that's always great. And thanks to everyone out there for joining us today. And thank you, Robert, for taking the time, as always, to be with us. It's always great to see you. So we will let you go on with your day. Thank you, sir.
Oh, great. Have a great show.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, take care.
All right.
See ya. All right. So a couple more things before we wrap up for today. We've got some exciting things, as always, happening here at the Content Marketing Institute. We have our awards. It's one of the favorite things we love to do, is award content marketers for all their hard work. If that's you, be sure to head over to contentmarketingawards.com and submit the awesome work that you did this year. We love to see it. We love to award marketers. So be sure to head over there. And we don't want you to forget that Content Marketing World is like 7 months away, I think, and time is running out to secure the best rates for the conference. We're super excited to be in Denver this year in October. So head over to contentmarketingworld.com before this Friday to get those early bird rates. The early bird rates expire after Friday. So go ahead, go over there, get your pass, and then make sure you tell your friends and coworkers to do the same, because we would love to see everyone in Denver, right, JK?
Yeah, new city. I mean, come on, this is going to be a blast.
Yes, and we're already excited to announce some keynotes here, including Mark Pritchard with P&G and the Chief Insights Officer there. So they'll take the stage together to tell us about how P&G is turning insight into marketing that drives growth. So it should be great, and it'll be kicking off this year. We're actually going to be co-locating with our sister brand, our sister conference, the TMRE, the Market Research Conference. So we're super excited for this year. It's going to be a fun year.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have some big announcements coming up soon. So stay tuned. There's some big news coming. And I'm not saying anything else, but we have some big announcements coming down the pipe. Just a little teaser. So go sign up, because you're going to love what we have in store for you this year. Great new city. You see, we have some great opening keynotes already. This is going to be a great show. I'm so excited. And I have personally never been outside the Denver airport, so I am like over the moon to be able to go spend some time in Denver. Now, my running club might be a different scenario, because I never run in elevation that high. So it's going to be a little challenging, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I was going to say, we famously ran through the Denver airport at the end of our Content Marketing World trip last year, because we had to make our connecting flight. So we were able to run through the Denver airport, JK, if you remember.
That's right.
Barely made it onto that plane back home.
Man,
but
that was insane.
I haven't been there in a long time, but yes, more than Denver Airport would be nice this year.
Yeah, it would. So I'm super, super excited for it. And there's a lot of big things coming. So go get over there, sign up before Friday, because it's going to be fun. All
right. Well, that's all we have for you today. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. All the great comments as well. We appreciate you. If there's a topic that you would love for us to tackle, please feel free to drop it into the comments, or just message me or JK. We'd love to hear about it. So until next month,